You can be a big pig too. Ooh. Welcome back to Lizard of Doom. I am Max. This is Continue On with Orktober. I'm painting the biggest pig. Not your mum, it is the boss on Tusk thingy. I should probably look that up, hang on. Your mum, no. It is the Tusk boss on maw-grunta. So before we get into the painting, just a reminder to subscribe because we are trying to get 10k by the new year and we are rapidly getting there. Getting towards 9k now, and click on my like button. Oh yeah! So here we start with your mum, the pig. This is a great kit from Games Workshop. This is the new ironjawz monster that came out with the latest release for them this year. I've built the side riders separately and put them on their own little base, just tacked on with a little bit of super glue so that they don't get in the way of painting this thing. The guy on top, unfortunately, his legs are built into the pig's armour, so I might as well assemble him and leave him on top. That was my thinking anyway. I start with the Army Painter Triad that I've been using for my orc skin. It is meant for zombie flesh skin. All of these paints are going to be down in the description below. They are all the same paints that I used in the Maw Crusher video, so if you'd like a really in-depth tutorial of that, that's where you'll find it. I really covered everything in that video. This is the same paint scheme because it's the same army. My woodland trunk stomper orcs are going to be all nice autumnal red and brown colours, but the skin I wanted to look nice and pale. The Army Painter Triad system is fantastic and I'm going to be doing an experiment in this video to see how much effort Liquid Mask can actually save me. So I'm going to be doing this skin triad up on these guys now. And the very final one just coming in straight from the top as a Zenithor, whereas the one before that was more of a 45-degree angle, making sure I didn't hit the underside, which I'd caught with the base colour. After I applied the liquid mask to all the areas I wanted to remain the skin colour, I then moved on to the next triad. One layer of liquid mask on, and it was time to do the armour. This would be through the next triad. This is their kind of chaos red triad. I do like this. It does go very pink at the end, but I think that adds a nice little zing to all the highlights on top. I'm using the same method where I come in at the 45-degree angle for the second highlight, making sure not to catch the underside, which has been thoroughly covered with the base of the triad. Then the final highlight is just from above, catching all those high points and making the detail really stand out. If you catch a glimpse of the cup on my airbrush, it is very pink, this end one. I wouldn't have necessarily chosen this one myself to go with this. This is why I'm glad of the triad system. They've really worked on what colours go with each other. And look, lovely little highlights across these chunky armour panels. And now it's time for the next liquid masking session. Liquid mask is my saviour and my enemy. It works best when it goes on really thick, but it is also very hard to control when it goes on really thick. But if you put it on really thick, it's easier to take off. So you've got to kind of gauge it in the middle for different areas. As it dries, it starts to go clear and the thicker bits do stay coloured. So when it is dry, you'll be left with something like this. Now it's time to move on to the final triad I will be using. This is a new triad that I didn't use in the Maw Crusher video. This is Husk Brown for the base, Fur Brown for the mid, and Viper Brown for the highlight. It is a very orangey brown, and I thought this would go nice with my autumnal orc theme. This is just for the fur. I'll be hand painting the skin on the pig's face and legs in a bit. Once I had reached the very top of this triad, it was now time to start removing all of the liquid mask, which I'd done off camera and had been left with something like this. It does need a little bit of repair around the edges, but I find you can do that with the base colours of these triads. That is the least noticeable way to repair the bits that the liquid mask has kind of covered on the wrong bits. But using this much liquid mask does indeed come with its downsides. So this was a good experiment to see how much liquid mask is too much liquid mask on a model. I spent 6 hours removing this much mask. Don't do this. Use it in small areas where you need it. I will not be doing this much mask on a giant model again. And this is also why this video has come out a day late. Usually I hit my Friday release. This is the first time I've failed that in 9 months since I've started. So not bad. On with the painting. The next step after this liquid mask nightmare is to base the rest of the colours. As I said earlier, these are all the same colours as in the Maw Crusher video, so I won't make you watch me paint the same colours over and over again. The basing is very simple, 2 thin coats of all the colours. I did think I'd have a bit of an issue with the tusks, as I wanted to do them in the brown horn colour I'd done on the Maw Crusher and the other models I've done in this range so far, but the teeth I wanted to paint bone, like the rest of the bone on the side here. I thought that may look a little bit jarring, but I did it anyway because that's how I want my model to look, and it only matters if I like it. After basing all of the model, this is what it looks like. Lovely, you can see all of it picked out now. I don't think the tusks being different colours to the teeth is a big issue. I think it's fine. And the bit I'm most happy with on this model is the armour. The armour with that army painter triad is lovely. That is adding some nice smooth gradient to this otherwise quite blocky paint job. I did, however, forget to base that chain on the back in between the 2 trophies there, but don't worry, I did pick that up shortly after filming this reveal and realising my mistake. Now, highlighting is the step when you can make all your materials on the model look different textures. You achieve this by highlighting them up in different ways. The bone I would do in quite blocky highlights. This is 2 thin coats of the next step up in GW's bone colours. The main midtone is going to go pretty much everywhere that's not underneath. I do this by directly aiming the model at my face and seeing what I can see from above. And then after that I'll be doing small edge highlights of the next step up, just to catch the edges where the light would hit the very tops. The oil wash I have made for this miniature does interact very nicely with this bone colours and adds a lot of depth and texture, so I'm not too worried about these bones looking too smooth. That will be fixed at the end. The horns and tusks are highlighted very differently. The base colour is the main colour on these, and then the highlight is going to be a thin edge highlight along any texture or ridges on these sections. The first one is quite a thick edge highlight, catching all of the light from above, and separating it from the main body of the tusk or horn that I'm painting. After that, it's thinner highlights then placed towards the top of these previous highlights with the next step up in that colour. This is how I did all of the spines on the Maw Crusher as well, so these 2 models should look lovely together when they're both finished. For the leather, I really took advantage of these large straps and put some nice scratchy highlights on there with the middle step and some smaller ones on top of that with the top highlight. There are a bloody ton of straps on this model. It is a Games Workshop model after all, so straps and skulls and bones and spikes, you got to expect it really. But after that, we are getting somewhere with this guy. I really like this worn leather look. It is orc leather after all. It's not going to be cared for and polished and maintained. The same way a human or a stormcast might maintain, it is definitely going to be bedraggled. Now this paint here, Catachan Flesh, is the base colour for 4 different areas on this model. The tongue, the skin, the cloth and the wood. The way I'm going to differentiate The way I'm going to tell those different areas apart is by using different techniques to highlight them. In 3 of those areas, there is going to be the same highlights, which are the highlights down in the description below. I like using the same colours in different areas on the model for different things, as it puts a nice tone over the whole model. The first section we're going to work on that I've based with this colour is the tongue. I'm going to just put a bit of Screamer pink over the top, leaving the dark recesses for this dark brown. It is very simple. I don't want this mouth to be bright and drawing your attention. I want the nasty kind of spikes and teeth around it to be the main focus. I don't want you looking at his tonsils. That's not the main focus of this model. Pretty good tongue, don't you think? That'll do. On to the next bit. The next bit being his skin. I would highlight this much in the same manner that I'd highlighted the bone. Large blocky layers done in 2 thin coats till I reach the right opacity. And you can really see my shotgun method here, where you point it straight at your face, look what you can see, and then highlight from there. I could see the top of this ear, and then I could see the little bits underneath of the bottom of the ear too. If you don't do this, you may often select the wrong pieces, such as too much of his inner ear. I think if I'd have looked at it straight from above, I'd have assumed most of the bottom of this ear was visible from the top, but it is not. After that, a few edge highlights like the bone of the next colour, just to bring out details and folds in the skin. I don't want to go too heavy with this, this needs to be subtle. It is just to create a bit of separation between the different areas on this pig skin. The next step is stippling the material. I wanted this to look like some old kind of textile that had been battered, so I'm not trying to achieve the same opaque look of the previous highlights. I'm taking a bit off on my hand so my brush isn't too loaded. That way I will achieve a nice inconsistent highlight, which leads to the nice texture that we're looking for. Any raised bits then get the high highlight with the same kind of technique, creating the battered material that I've been looking for.
Orcs don't have nice clean trousers. Orcs has been wearing these trousers for at least 6 years now.
The wood is then highlighted much the same way the horn is, with thicker highlights of the mid-tone and then thinner highlights within those, from the top just to pick out different areas. To create a nice bit of wear on the upper edges so you can see where this wood has been attached to this pig saddle for quite a long time and it's got mucky and dark, but these bits are where the dirt has rubbed off or new wood is showing through. I did the same on the handles of the weapons as well, leading to them looking like the same type of wood. With this done, there was only a few steps left to do on this miniature. A scratchy highlight with a bright silver from Pro Acryl on the edges of all the metallic work. Orc metal isn't going to be looked after. This is damaged and battered and not very sharp, but it's going to do the job. Then my patented orc juice, just to give it that oil wash I created in the Maw Crusher video. I slathered this everywhere. This oil wash dries a little bit dusty, but on the darker colours it looks like built up dust and dirt, and on the lighter colours it looks like muddy grime. The reason it dries a bit dusty is because I did use cheaper oil paint, but this does have its benefits if you want this look. I've accidentally created some kind of weathering juice that does both. Carefully taking it off, not pressing too hard, because if you do, you will remove a bit of paint. But this is white spirit, bringing it back to a place I'm happy with. After this, there's not much to do. Just a bit of basing to match the rest of the army. The rest of the trunk stompers. So thank you for watching and thank you to my Patreons. The reveal is coming up in a second. If you would like to help support this channel, shablam, the link is up there now. The only way I'm going to end up doing this full time is through the support of my lovely Patreons. Ad revenue is crap! Like I said at the start of the video, we are hurtling towards 10k subscribers, trying to get there by January the 1st. So please, if you know someone who would like this video or other content on my channel, share it with them. Thank you very much. That is all from me this week. How do I do outro? It is not a pile of shame, it's a pile of future fun. See you next time, kids.